G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Jeremy Miller from FSA Store based in New York, United States. Thanks for your time today, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Ken on your team reached out and thought you might be a good guest to have on the cast because you've got a bit of a passion for helping businesses grow.
Yeah, the format and content of your show is great. And we just thought it'd be great to be on the show and talk about growing businesses, something I'm very passionate about and been doing for the last 12 years.
Great. Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Sure. So we're called Healthy Commerce, and we're a collection of e-commerce sites that allow consumers to use pre-tax benefits, such as FSAs and HSAs, to purchase thousands and thousands of eligible healthcare products, as well as servicing Medicare. All this is U.S. healthcare plans. So in the U.S., people can put aside tax-free money out of their paycheck to spend on medical expenses. And so we're a core site that helps people really kind of educate them on these tools and help them spend their money on qualified expenses.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm looking at one of your websites here, which is FSA Store. So you've got over 4,000 FSA eligible products listed.
Yep. So everything in the US, if you have one of these plans, you get a card and you can go onto the site and you can use your tax-free money that's taken out of your paycheck to spend on all those products. Anything that's related to health and care, we cover and we serve. And so we've been doing it since 2010.
Great. And you've got a couple of other websites in the group?
Yeah, so we launched HSA Store, which is another US-based healthcare plan account called Health Savings Accounts. We launched that in 2015. We launched a wellness site called welldeservedhealth.com. And then we just got into the Medicare and Medicaid space. And so we have a Medicare Advantage OTC site that focuses on people that are under Medicare and buying products that they can use and need every day.
Right. And how did you start out?
So, I worked a lot of jobs before I decided to start my own company, and actually ended up, helping a lot of companies grow, helping a lot of companies, exceed their targets, making a lot of money for a lot of different people. And I thought, maybe it's a time that I should go out this on my own. Yeah, go out on my own and try to do something. So I was working for Frank Geary, the architect, based in LA, and I was doing accounting, HR, finance. And I ended up finding these accounts when I was doing some HR things, and I saw that, people can put all this tax-free money. You're not paying, you're saving 40% on the dollar. Why aren't people using these? And so I set up an account and saw that quickly they were very complex and confusing. And I think we only ended up getting 3 people out of 100 to sign up for one.
Yep. And
it was just tons of money, just tons of tax-free money that was left on the table. And so I ended up going to business school in 2009 and finding that after doing a little digging, found out that there's actually almost $400 million of dollars that are just unspent in these accounts because people get them and they don't know how to use them and they don't know when their funds expire. And so we just found this huge opportunity. And so we decided to launch a site to really help with that.
Great. And how old were you in 2010 when you decided to make the jump?
So I was 30 when I decided that I wanted to try it, and then 31 when we launched, and then I guess 41 when we sold. So yep. 10 years. And then, and I also had a newborn kid who was born in 2009. So I had a new baby as well and going to school, not making money. Yep. Perfect time to start a business. So yeah, it was 2008, 2009 too. So it was,
yep,
a great economic environment, at least in the US, but all those added up to start a business now.
Yeah. And you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 12 years?
Yeah, we've had, really great growth. We've either grown double digits or triple digits every year for the last 12 years. And so wow. the just to see the customer growth, the growth in sites has been really kind of a tremendous indicator that we're, creating something that's being used and that people utilize and really find value out of it.
Great. And how many team members did you start with, and where are you at now?
So we started with four team members, squatting in a small little breakout room at the business school after we had all graduated. And we kind of hovered around 60 to 70 for a long time. And then recently we just went over 100. But we had a model that's very light on, the core business is important, but light on the amount of team members that we really utilize. So we outsourced our customer support team, we outsourced our operations and distribution. And so we've been able to really utilize a great amount of people, but not really, the core people that have been working out of the office.
Right. So you've got about 100 in the core team. And I think you said before you forward, there might be all up 300, including those ones you've kind of outsourced to.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal growth. Congratulations.
Thanks.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
So, my goal was really to get the website launched. The first site was FSA store, and I was like, I just want to get this launched. I've been working on this plan for a year. We've been vetting it out completely. Can I just get the site up? Can I just get an order? And so that was my goal. And so when we hit that goal and I got an order, I was like, that's success. And then I was like, wait, there's all this money that goes unspent each year. Like, can we help people spend down their funds and get some, utilization there? Like, will that idea hold up that people have these excess tax-free dollars that they don't know how to spend? And so we launched in June 2010. In December 2010, when these funds expire, most of the funds expired at the end of the year. We went from $2,000 our first month to $400,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I think we got something here.
Shit, that's great.
So, I had a mentor that always says, whenever you seek, after you seek oneness, you seek two-ness. And so it's been like that. It's like, oh wow, we got that, and then, oh wow, we have 2 million customers. Like, that's great. So there's just been a lot of things that we've celebrated along the way, and so that's what I would say is probably the key part about the success is kind of celebrating all the achievements along the way.
What does success look like to you?
I think I think success is personal. It's a very personal thing. I think that I think about you hit your financial goals, but then you ruin the environment, or you get to where you want to be, but you sacrifice relationships. And so I think there's this kind of give and take, which makes success pretty individual and personal. Like it's to me, it's like more of like an art, than like an attainment type of thing. But so I'm still, I think starting a business and selling a company like we did in 2019 was definitely something that really wasn't part of the plan. We didn't start a business saying we want to sell it. I started a business because I wanted to build something and create a tool that someone would use and be out on my own and do my own thing. But then kind of 2019, when we ended up selling the majority of the company to a private equity firm based out of Chicago, I think that was a good level of attainment on the way. We were able to kind of, and people that invested, the early investors, the friends and family, it was just kind of this event that kind of happened. I think that was a key part, but it's still in the process. I think it's still something that I work on even now. So
yep. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
So number one thing I'd recommend in marketing a fast growing business is so we have 2 components of our business. So we have a strong B2C component, email, retargeting, Facebook, social, SEM, SEO. Those are all kind of like core in our e-commerce business. We got to have all these really, kind of digital B2C metrics that we look at every day and we try to optimize. We also have a really interesting B2B component of our business. So we partner with companies such as payroll providers like ADP and companies that administer these plans. And so since day one, we've been out to get partnerships with these companies We started in 2010 with about 13 partnerships. We now have over 500 partnerships.
Yep.
Those include some large companies like Boeing, but most of them are companies that administer these plans. And so that's been kind of a key marketing tool for us, is
That's
because
a great idea.
yeah, it's just a way to be able to go directly to the people that have these accounts and say, hey, you want your customers to have the same thing that we do. We want them to use these. This is a healthcare tool. We want people to be healthier. We want them to utilize as much as they can. And so we partner with them to let us, we can't market because it's HIPAA, but let us, communicate with your participants. Let's talk about FSAs and HSAs. Why don't we give them tools and resources and coupons and banners and flyers and whatever we can do to kind of promote. And that's just been such a key core tenet of our business that started pretty early. And, is why we had a sales team when, we're doing e-commerce. You usually just kind of have the marketing team doing all the kind of marketing aspects. So I think that was a big part of our biz.
And you use Net Promoter Score. What's your most recent score?
Yeah, we're happy. It's high 70s. It's, we saw that in even the beginning of the company formation, is like you'd see someone that would come from a business, and next you see all these other people from that same business coming in, and they're just saying, hey, you have FSA money, like here, like go here. Yep. And so you see, same company over and over, and that's just propelled to our most recent number.
Yeah, that's great. For the audience, Net Promoter Score, NPS, is not a percentage. It's positive 70 is your score, which is very hard to achieve, let alone maintain. I think anything over 30 or 40 is good, 50 is great, and over 60 is amazing. So well done on that measure. And funding your business, so you had investors from day one, or was it four co-founders?
One person that started with me out of Columbia. We raised money, but not a lot of money. We raised some, kind of Series A and a Series A1.
Yeah,
wasn't a ton of money. I remember someone saying, "That's it," and so we kind of propelled that to get to profitability, and then ended up using venture debt. So we actually raised 3 or 4 times as much debt as we did venture capital, and the venture debt helped us with being non-dilutive, but at the same time. Working with a group that wants to see you succeed and opens up doors for you as well. But the debt gets paid off upon exit, but and interest rates are higher than traditional debt. But definitely
equity.
At the time, it seemed like it would work.
Yeah,
it did for us. Yeah.
And that, out of interest, that venture debt, that wasn't tied to a convertible note. It was just pure debt.
Yeah, it was pure debt. 0 covenants, higher interest rate, and then some warrants, for the biz, which paid off nice. Yeah. But a great group that really helped us as we kind of decided not to do the B round and instead.
Yep. Great. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yeah. Digital health in New York City is booming right now. The last number that I saw was that $9 billion was raised in 2021 for digital health startups. Wow. In New York City, which was beat the prior year by like 150%.
Wow. Yep.
And so you just see these, these companies coming in, everything spanning digital health, and really kind of settling into New York City. So it's definitely nice. My specific business is considered more like a niche. Some people might be still listening saying, what's an FSA? Yeah. And like, what's an HSA? Because I'd get that every time I pitch. Someone would be like, what are these things? So, in that sense, you've seen more and more companies that have come in the space that are offering services to the people that we provide services to. So you've seen that growth, but it is a little trickier type of company. You have to start. There's a ton of focus on compliance, HIPAA, high tech regulations. All these things you have to do with your website and the security around your servers and maintenance. And so it is a headache in the compliance aspect. So I would make sure that if I was raising, I'd raise enough so that I can come out the gates having those things ready, as opposed to kind of like building them when you need them.
Yeah. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yes, there's stress. There's been stress for sure. I'd say the first round that we raised, even though it was small, was stressful. Looking back, I'd probably outsource key parts of the biz, of the help. I had an amazing binder that I put together that was like all of our due diligence. And the investor was like, this is the best binder I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, that's because I've been working on it like constantly. And so I'd say that first raise was definitely tough, trying to focus on the business at the same time, raise money and capital. And so I would say, if I had to change, I'd probably focus more on outsourcing, what I could of that process to the people that know about it, the lawyers and investors and the advisory team. And so, I think that fundraising, I'm sure for a lot of people, checks that box of kind of being stressful because you never know it's coming in until it actually comes in. And that old saying about like, it's not done until the check hits the bank. And so I'm like, when's this check coming?
Yeah.
I've been waiting on this check for 4 weeks. It's not done until the check hits the bank. And I'm just so if you're talking about kind of key stress, that was definitely in the beginning a pivotal point.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think definitely for me is putting myself out there. I'm kind of more of a reticent guy, and I had to be out there. I had to meet potential clients. I had to create sales processes from nothing. I had to go to conferences and be the face of the company, and also like pack the bags and set up the conference tent and do all these things. And so I think working the most is really just kind of being out there and making those relationships. And it was such a key part of, especially in the industry. And when you talk about these B2B partnerships, you're talking to large companies are like, who are you? And like, why do we need to do this? And, you can work on a company for like 2 years and just try to build that relationship. So I'd say that definitely working on the most was definitely kind of being out there, being where I need to be, and meeting people and building relationships.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Kind of interesting. I enjoyed the least about managing fast growth. I mean, when you grow as fast as we were growing, it was kind of unreal. Like you'd have the end of year is kind of this pivotal moment for us.
Yeah.
Because all these funds expire. And so people are literally like, the ball is dropping in New York City. We're 7 blocks away on 37th and 7th Ave. Here in the rigmarole of the end of the year, and we have as much of the team sitting there watching as people are spending their funds up until this deadline, like
right up to midnight.
The seconds of midnight, like you see the traffic, it's like 3,000 people, and then midnight hits, 25 people. And it's just like, and I think it was great because I think some people have this ritual, like I gotta spend, and obviously we have a bunch of different time zones, so you have Pacific as well, but just seeing that rush of people and making sure that the site's working and the customer service is working and the products are there and all these things. So I'd say missing New Year's for the last 10 years, probably something I didn't really enjoy, but we just sit there and kind of, and it got to the point where it was kind of more maintaining, like, okay, is everything good? Like how are things, okay, everything's working. Let's go home, like celebrate with the family. But definitely those, we call them the surges, were probably the most fun, but also the least enjoyed.
Yeah. What do you love most about growing a small business?
I love people and culture, building a culture. I enjoy working with people every day. When I was an employee, talking back to, my earlier days, like I didn't really like going to work. Like I was kind of like, don't talk to me. it's in the morning. I don't want to be spoken to.
Having a
And I was kind of like, yeah, I haven't had my second cup of coffee yet. And so I think that being able to be surrounded, up until the last 2 years, by people that really, believe in what you're doing, and building a culture of people that really enjoy being there as much as I do, and kind of focusing on that, and continuing to kind of build that as more and more people come in, right? Like the challenges you got, we hired 40 people this year or something, 30, 20, 30 people. How do we kind of get them to understand the culture? And it paid off. I mean, we were, in New York, we were rated one of the top places to work for 4 straight years.
Wow.
And
right.
by Cranes, which is a local magazine that does this every year. And so, like, building more and more things for people that they truly enjoyed, such as kind of like having a on-site coach that helps people, talks about business, personal, they can go into and talk to a coach. We did meditation classes, just things like that. And then a lot of events and other things to kind of build what I consider a strong culture.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
In terms of mindset shift, I think something that I had in the beginning that I stopped having was this focus, like or this kind of idea, like, look, it's not falling apart. Like, something might not be working to the level that you want it to work, but it's not falling apart. When we had 4 people and like someone did something, I was like, it's falling apart. Like this thing is, this thing is going. And, when you have more and more people that are here to help you and here to, work with you, a lot more stuff gets taken care of. And it's like, okay, it's not falling apart. Okay, we didn't maybe close that deal. We maybe said something wrong to the client. But we're still operating, we're still running, things are good, we're growing, we got people, so I think that mindset shift from the beginning when they're like, this is falling apart, to like now it's like, okay, like, let's just kind of like understand what's happening. I think is a big shift.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I think for me, like, having habits was actually the habit that I think people might maintain. For me, I was very much, I wake up in the morning, I get on the metro to work, I jump in my office, let's do this again. It's day 2, it's day 3, there's like this habit of, I don't know what you call it, like creature comforts, or I'm not sure what you might describe it, but it was definitely it's kind of like that making your bed guy. Like, it's a very simple thing, like, just have habits.
Yep.
Make your bed, make your bed. But I think doing that for 10 years straight was definitely, it was just kind of ritual almost.
Yes.
Being in the office and being around people. So I think now I've transitioned recently to from my CEO role to more chairman of the board role, and we have a new CEO. And I look back and I'm like, wow, like, I did that for 12 years. I did that day over day for 12 years.
Jump over to growasmallbusiness.com and leave your details to get a short 2-minute email I send on Fridays to help small business owners like you become better leaders. I include some reading or professional development resources I've discovered in the last week. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
I think for me, in terms of people, like, I think that, you got to know the people you're bringing on. That's for sure. I think also, for the listeners that might be looking to join a startup or up and coming company, it's amazing how little people research this place that you're going to be at for like the majority of your day. And so in terms of like, adding to the team, it's just like, you're committing your precious time. Like, you got to know, like, this is the place you want to be.
Yep.
Because if it's not, you're going to just jump. And we see a lot of people that just jump to jobs, jump to 1 year here, 1 year here, 1 year here. And I think if we just truly kind of research what the company was, and I think some people got lucky. It was like you ended up being in like a great culture, like, and we care about you and like all those things, but you don't do the research. And I think it goes both ways. So.
Yes, no, definitely. What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, for me, culture is very simple. It's care for your people and do things that you can show them that you care. Some people might think that culture is something you have to invest in and spend money on. And I think you can do a lot of things if you focus on caring for your people. That might not just be about the bottom line and what the impact is. At the same time, like I said, we celebrate our successes. So we were really focused on doing great things for our employees and building this great culture and listening and understanding and doing a lot of social missions that we created a social ventures team. We created a volleyball team. I mean, there's a lot of things that we just did together, and I think that are kind of key to building a kick-ass culture. And I think you can also do things that show you care as a leader without that being much of a monetary thing. I think you can do things like just be there for them. We had an employee whose father died of COVID, and it's kind of like whatever you need to do, like do it. Like we don't care about the rules of leave.
Yep.
and that thing. It's just like take care of yourself and check back in. She's been with the company for 8 years, right? And so I think there's definitely a component of just kind of like
being a good human.
Yeah. And I think, yeah. Like, and ingraining that in the rest of the people that are around you. And then they all, it's kind of like you get the culture, right? And then it's kind of you shift to be more of that than less of it, because you see people doing it every day.
Tell the audience how you've handled balance.
During which time?
I guess over the last 12 years.
Yeah, I can't look back with regrets. I often look back at the 10 years and say, wow, like 10 to 12 years, like wow, like I did a lot. I maintained a family. And being CEO, you have flexibility, right? Like you have the flexibility to do things when you need to, which is a great aspect, but not if you don't take advantage of them.
Yeah.
Not if you have the time, like, well, I'm not going to use it, right? And so I think that that was like a struggle with just like I have this mentality. And so things in place to help with balance was definitely at times like a robo-minding wife. I'm just kind of kidding a little bit, but like someone that's like, Jeremy, tapping on your shoulders saying, it's 8 p.m. You said you're gonna be home at 7:30. But and then me rushing out of there. But I partially kidding. At the same time, it was a constant thing for me since day one. It was balance.
Yep. And how much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
We've done a lot of training and development. We've done a lot of it within the company as opposed to just me personally. So we have basically, we'd have a management training. We'd read 5 dysfunctions of a team and do a whole, half day on the book and understanding the book and working with the team in the book. If we had sales training that was going on, I'd pop in and see what was going on, brush up a little bit on sales. And so we've done a lot of professional development within the company. I'd say less outside the company, but I did recently invest in a company that is solely focused on driving professional development for your team. Right. So you get a budget. Yeah, it's a great company called Range. You get a budget, you can allocate that however you want, and employees can go on and they can train in whatever they want to be trained in, which I think is really great. When we were early on, we ended up getting a grant from the city of New York to train the whole team, which is kind of interesting. It was a small project they had where they basically paid for the entire training. So people were learning SQL, people were learning Excel, people were learning as much as they could, which I think is great to kind of elevate the team and grow as you grow. Because I think that's a key component is they have to grow with you. You're growing at double digit, triple digit growth.
Yep.
How do you maintain the skills and build the skills? And so I think that was kind of a great challenge to see that people could really rise to the occasion, but not everyone, but a lot of people.
It's rare, but I think you've done it right. You've actually carved out the time because it's such fast growth. Everyone's so busy, but you've made it a priority that you've got to develop the team along the way, and you'll get that investment back in spades.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
So Columbia was a great source of mentors and professors, and two professors ended up being on my advisory board that I created. So yeah, mentors, coaches have been extremely important. Creating a board of advisors that were really pivotal in the beginning of the formation of the company. And we had one mentor who it's kind of funny. He would come and he'd talk about this other company that he was really excited about. And I'd be like, what about my company? And he'd be like, this company is amazing. They're doing this thing. It was a kind of a cool tool that you could put over your radiator and you could change the temperature of your room by encapsulating the radiator. And he would talk about this company and I'd be like, yeah, but I'm doing this, this, and this. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's interesting, but it's okay. Interesting enough, he was part of a team called SCORE, which helps companies. I forgot how I found him, but he, 10 years later, because he kind of fell out of touch, we had our exit. And I remember calling him and said, hey, remember that, back in 2011 when you were helping me out, we have a check for you. And he's like, yeah, great. This is some kind of scam. Yeah. He's like, sure, you have a check for me. He's like, talk to my wife. So I called it, talk to his wife. And I was like, this is what happened. He was granted advisor shares. And he was just, so ecstatic that something popped out, something happened.
Yep.
And he passed away about a year ago, but his wife still says that it was just a great event to be able to see it through, and just a surprise that not the company that he was talking about, but the one that we.
I was going to ask, yeah. That's
maybe
great.
Still, I don't know.
And you have a board of directors at the moment. You chair that board. How often do you meet, and how big is the board?
We have a 8-person board. We meet quarterly. I've had a board since we took venture investments.
How have you found that transition from getting out of the CEO role, more of the day-to-day, to that chair role?
Yeah, I think it's been great to kind of help on a strategic perspective, help the company think about the way that it grows, the ways that it grows, to be able to kind of support the company, but not be the day-to-day person, and work with management on how they kind of try to continue what the company is, especially around COVID. COVID was a challenge, right? Still a challenge for the company in terms of just now we have a team that's basically across the country. At the same time, it's kind of, so it's new challenges. Like, how do you maintain a culture when no one's meeting, or no one's really there? So working on that, working with the private equity firm when needed, Also trying to build some business development contacts and continue to kind of work on like, how do we build this business? How do we get to this next level? And so that's all been really interesting to me. It's interesting to see. And, with COVID and the kind of like the spike we had, 2020 was our best year. I mean, we had people were buying thermometers and pulse oximeters by the droves. And so you just saw this huge rush. And so keeping that up for the post-COVID, I think is going to be kind of the next challenge.
And how did you go when you stepped into that chair role? Kind of not doing operational overreach. I certainly did when about 5 years ago, I started chairing a second largest craft brewery down here and had a few issues, letting go of the operational day-to-day so the general manager could get on with things. Did you have any problems with that, getting in your CEO's way?
I think, I think feedback is important, how things are doing with the CEO and the board. I think that's a key metric, is kind of just communicating that and checking in from time to time. I think that, is it a challenge? I mean, it definitely in the beginning was tough, just being like, I don't have these habits.
Yeah.
I don't have this ritual. I don't have these demands like I used to. And so, kind of coming down from that is an interesting kind of process.
And you're one of the few we've had on that's exited a business. Well, you're still operationally in the business, but financially, you sold a big chunk to a private equity firm. You got any advice for the audience around that?
It seems to me that you see a lot of people that are coming into companies and saying, I want to buy this business, or like, I'd like to buy this. And I hear it, even like I'll be walking down the street and someone's like, yeah, and they wanted me to, I spent 4 weeks with them evaluating my financials, and they walked away. So I think it's a really interesting time, and there's seemingly a lot of private equity money. But as someone told me when we sold, company's not going to be comfortable buying you until they're 100% comfortable. And so I kind of misestimated what the process would be like. It's definitely a very intensive process. There's a lot of diligence.
Yep.
And so I think for people that are evaluating it, I think I would say, make sure it's not just a time suck, that it's actual, viable market with a company that's like a fit for you, what you do, right? It seems out of the, the lane, then, you might waste, 4 months of diligence to find out, oh, this isn't really, these metrics, so the growth or whatever it is that could be, don't really fit the metrics. And so just, maybe for me, I was overly cautious about that.
Yeah.
To the point where I think I actually waited a while to make sure that there was a strong fit.
How long did it take?
So from closing the deal from getting to know the people at the company, it was over a year.
Wow. Okay. And did they approach you, or you guys thought it was time to get someone else in?
It was pretty interesting. We had an intro through someone that was a VP at our team. It was a quick pass. And then kind of, talking about building relationships, I ended up saying, hey, can we grab breakfast? And ended up grabbing breakfast with the CEO of the firm and another person that was in New York at the time. And next thing you know, out of the blue, it was like, we're back on. They're interested. I was like, wow, must have been something I did.
Good breakfast.
Yeah, the bacon was great. But yeah, sometimes it is kind of like a crapshoot too. Like, just that happened to work out and worked out. It's great firm.
All right, Jeremy, we wanted our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I'd say perseverance. I'd say, you got to, just keeping with it. think is definitely a hard thing about growing. I think that was something that was really a focus for me, is like just sticking with it and just like, keep working at it, keep working at it. And, for me, it was like, maybe it's not for me. When I was in business school, I was trying to launch the company. I was like doing clubs and I was doing social, and then I had my classes, it was just a whirlwind of an amazing time. And I was like, wait, but I came here to start a business. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to utilize the people around me to like get ideas and harvest, things. And so for me, there was this moment where I was like, maybe it's just not for me. Like I can't do it. Maybe this thing's not for me. And then that kicked me into this like high gear. I was like, okay, I got 4 months. I have to build this site. If I don't build this site by then it isn't for me. And I can go back to applying for the jobs that I started applying for in the second year. And so I'd say that's key, is to persevere. But sometimes it might not work. Like, I don't even know what the end of perseverance looks like. Like, could you persevere so long? Like, what's the cost? I'm not sure.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I read an interesting book. So this person, Jeff Cohen, if anyone's seen Goonies back in the 90s, it's a great film. And so he was Chunk in Goonies. And he talks about how he was this, high-powered star in Hollywood, and then he grew up. Within 3 years, he was just kind of like he couldn't get a job. And so he became a high-profile lawyer. So he came out with a book called The Deal Maker's 10 Commandments. It was really interesting because I was reading it right at the time of closing our deal. And just some of the concepts in there are really interesting. And, I tried to use one. I failed, but I was like, hey, at least, I'm trying, I'm learning. So that was an interesting book. It's not a, well-known book, like probably some people say, but I just thought it was interesting.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
So yeah, the company called, Range, it's called getrange.com, has been really cool to see them working on professional development, working on creating as many kind of training tools that employees can use. I dabble into podcasts and books and things like that, but I think kind of, you see so many people that are looking to kind of create this skill set to, maybe do career changes. And I've tried to help people kind of on that path, whether it be from writer to developer, what is it you need to learn? And so this site really kind of helps you with that.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I hear this a lot in the interviews you do, but like I'd say, anything around sales and marketing tools. I don't think we have the strongest tools, and I think it's such a key component to the growth of our business. So I think it'd be really interesting to see what's out there now, that people can utilize. I don't have any names to offer, but I think investing in that, I think, was just so key.
Finally, my favorite question: what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 12 years ago?
I would say, get help. No, I'd say never be afraid to ask for help. That's what I'd say. Right. I'd say, like, this is not so, you have this solopreneur, entrepreneur ideal of someone going out and venturing on their own and like doing it. You can't do it without the tremendous help of like all the people around you, whether it be professional paid support, such as lawyers, or the mentorship teams, just bouncing ideas, anything to do to get help. Because that's what I say when I, talk at Columbia, when I come back there, sometimes I'm like, you can't do this on your own. Maybe you can. You might. I'm not going to rule it out, because I'm going to be like, I will do this on my own and I will show you. And I've seen companies that have done that, and some people that have done it on their own, right? But at least I couldn't do it alone. So, I was really appreciative and about the support that you get and the people that offer your expertise. And then, day one of starting out, the other thing I would say, if people are listening that are thinking of starting our company, is I talked a little about compliance, and that was just such a key component of our business. Every business probably has some kind of key component where you should not skimp on that. You should not have a startup on that part. Get that done right. And we, for us, like tax was a huge issue that we, sales tax was rolling around the country. Like we're just like, we got to get this right. Like you got to get it right. Invest in those things that you're going to do, so you're not skimping down the road.
Thanks very much for your time today, Jeremy. I think the audience get a lot of value out of what you shared with us. Really appreciate it. And congratulations to you, your business partner, and the wider team for your amazing growth over 12 years, 4 FTE to now around 100. That's amazing.
Yeah. Again, back to telling ourselves day one, just do it. That was my motto. And I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And it's great to hear the podcast. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.